Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're skipping past the gleaming auto shop shelves and diving straight into the hidden history and wild chemistry inside that plastic bottle of full synthetic motor oil. There is a profound truth hiding inside that amber liquid, and honestly, most drivers never hear it. It's incredibly easy to assume it's just, filtered mineral oil sold at a massive markup. But as we'll see today, it's also not the purely lab-conjured miracle liquid those slick commercials want you to believe. The real story actually sits somewhere right in the middle, and it's rooted in a fascinating century of high-stakes chemistry, global war, and a literal courtroom battle that quietly rewrote what the word synthetic even means.
So, what exactly is in this bottle? When you grab one off the shelf, you probably picture scientists in pristine white lab coats, right? Just building molecules out of thin air. But the true origins of this fluid are much, much grittier. This isn't a product that was simply invented to make your daily commute a little smoother or to help your engine last a few extra years. No. To understand what's actually in the bottle today, we have to travel back in time. We need to look at the intense historical pressures that forced it into existence in the first place.
See, synthetic oil wasn't created for convenience. It was forged in wartime survival, born out of absolute necessity during a time of extreme global conflict and desperation. Back in the 1920s, Germany was building up a massive military machine, but they hit a huge logistical wall. They had almost zero domestic crude oil, and while you simply cannot run a mechanized military without lubricants, so they had to invent a solution completely from scratch. They literally had to figure out a way to build oil without pulling it from the ground. The timeline of this chemical miracle is just wild. It starts with two German chemists, Franz Fischer and Hans Tropsch. In 1925, they discovered that synthesis gas, which is basically a mix of carbon monoxide and hydrogen, could be cooked under intense heat, massive pressure, and a catalyst to form liquid hydrocarbons. They were essentially building oil out of gas. Fast forward to 1938 through 1944, and German scientists are rigorously testing thousands of these synthetic ester compounds. They were frantically searching for a lubricant that could survive brutal, freezing Russian winters while also holding up inside scorching hot tank engines on the battlefield. Now, after the war, this incredible chemical engineering didn't just vanish. Early jet aviation picked up right where military research left off. Why? Because conventional mineral oil would turn to sludge within seconds inside those incredibly hot early jet engines, which is generally considered a bad thing when you're at 30,000 feet. Only engineered synthetic molecules could hold up. Finally, in 1972, a former fighter pilot named Al Amatuzio brought that exact same aviation-grade technology back down to the road. He founded AmSoil and launched the very first commercial synthetic motor oil for passenger cars. Okay, so bringing it back to today, what are you actually buying? Well, when you look at the physical makeup of modern motor oil, it's always made of two distinct components. First, you have a massive volume of base oil, which makes up roughly 70 to 90% of the liquid in the bottle. Then you have a critical package of chemical additives, making up the remaining 10 to 30%. Both are absolutely essential, but that base oil, that is the true foundation of the whole shebang. The American Petroleum Institute, or API, actually categorizes these base oils into 5 distinct groups. Group 1 is your old-school solvent-refined crude oil. It's full of impurities and mismatched molecules. Group 2 is crude oil refined a bit further through hydrocracking, using hydrogen and heat to strip out those impurities. Then we step up to Group 3, which is crude oil pushed through extreme hydrocracking until it reaches very high purity and thermal stability. Group 4 consists of true polyalpha olefins, or PAOs, built completely from scratch from pure ethylene gas. And Group 5 captures specialty synthetics like esters. But here is the massive takeaway, guys. The vast majority of what is sold today as full synthetic is actually Group 3, meaning it fundamentally starts its life as crude oil pumped right from the ground. It's the intense, violent reality of the modern refining process, not a pristine lab-built molecule, that actually earns it that title.
Now, having said that, there is a true gas-to-liquid exception out there that perfectly mirrors that authentic 1920s chemistry. Picture the massive Pearl GTL plant in Ras Laffan, Qatar, run by Qatar Energy and Shell. It's the world's largest gas-to-liquid plant, and it consumes a staggering 1.6 billion cubic feet of natural gas every single day. Using a modernized version of that original Fischer-Tropsch process, they break natural gas down to its basic chemical components and then rebuild them into uniform, crystal-clear hydrocarbon chains. The resulting base oil is almost completely free of sulfur, nitrogen, and unwanted aromatics. It looks as clear as spring water, yet it acts as a serious shield for heavy metal engine parts spinning at thousands of RPM.
But here's the crucial point.
Pure base oil, whether it's pumped from crude or synthesized from natural gas, is entirely insufficient on its own. Actually, scratch that, it's worse than insufficient. Pure base oil alone would completely destroy your engine within just a few miles of driving. It simply cannot handle the sheer violence, pressure, and chemical byproducts of internal combustion. So, if base oil alone destroys engines, what actually protects your car? The answer lies in the hidden heroes totally suspended inside the liquid.
That critical 10 to 30% additive package does all the heavy lifting here. You've got detergents and dispersants working tirelessly to prevent carbon and sludge buildup from ruining the tight tolerances of your engine block. You've got antioxidants actively stopping the oil from thickening up under severe heat and oxygen exposure. Then there's the real heavy hitter, ZDDP. This is an anti-wear agent that literally sacrifices itself to form a protective shield on your metal engine parts under extreme pressure. On top of all that, you have viscosity modifiers. These are highly engineered polymers that physically expand as temperatures rise. They're the exact reason a thin cold weather oil, like a 0W20, doesn't just turn to water and thin out entirely when your engine block is roaring at 220 degrees Fahrenheit.
But hold on, let's rewind for a second because we're left with a pretty massive question. If most full synthetic oil on the auto shop shelf starts out as Group 3 crude oil pulled from the earth, how on earth is the word synthetic legally allowed to be printed on the label? It sounds like a total contradiction, right? Well, the answer to this lies not in a chemistry lab, but in a pivotal 1999 legal loophole. The definition of synthetic wasn't decided by scientists at all. It was decided by lawyers, in a clash between two massive corporate heavyweights, Mobil and Castrol.
This high-stakes dispute played out before the National Advertising Division of the Better Business Bureau. In one corner, you had Mobil 1. They were using true Group 4 PAO base oils, meaning their oil was entirely built from scratch from gas. In the other corner, you had Castrol. They had just reformulated their Syntec product using highly refined Group 3 oil, which, as we know, is derived from crude. Mobil filed a formal complaint arguing this was deeply deceptive to the consumer. But Castrol firmly countered. They argued that their extreme hydrocracking process altered the crude oil's molecular structure so thoroughly and completely that the final result was, functionally speaking, a synthesized product. And ultimately, the review board completely sided with Castrol. It was a landmark decision that just quietly rewrote the rulebook. That single ruling completely shifted the entire industry's definition of the word synthetic. It moved it away from how the oil was made and redefined it entirely by how the oil performs. It was such a massive paradigm shift that today the API's own base oil handbook doesn't even use the word synthetic at all. Instead, it ranks base oils purely by measurable chemistry, things like saturate percentage, sulfur content, and viscosity index. So bring in this intricate history and intense corporate chemistry back to your own garage. You might logically be wondering what this actually means for your car. Does this legal redefinition hurt your vehicle? If the oil you're buying is a highly refined Group 3 crude instead of a lab-built Group 4, are you being cheated? Does it actually matter for your everyday driving?
Well, when you compare the practical realities of the two, here's the deal. True Group 4 PAO oils offer extreme aerospace-level specifications. They stay completely liquid down to about -85 degrees Fahrenheit and hold a viscosity index above 200. And while that is absolutely incredible, it's total overkill for performance that almost no passenger car will ever actually need. Modern hydrocracked Group 3 oils, on the other hand, are exceptionally clean, highly stable, and vastly superior to the conventional oils from decades past. For the vast majority of daily drivers on the road today, they provide more than enough exceptional protection. Now, before we wrap up, it's vital we remember a few key takeaways and retire some persistent oil myths. First off, synthetic oil isn't magic, and it certainly isn't immortal. While the high-quality base oil firmly resists breaking down, that crucial additive package we talked about earlier physically depletes over time. Those hard-working detergents saturate, and the anti-wear agents literally get completely consumed. Because of this, following your manufacturer's recommended oil change intervals is still absolutely critical for protecting your engine. Also, despite what you might have heard through the grapevine, you can safely switch or mix conventional and synthetic oils in a pinch. You just need to make absolutely sure you match the correct viscosity grade.
Looking back, it is just amazing to realize the journey of this stuff. From desperate, high-stakes wartime engineering in 1920s Germany to early jet aviation testing, all the way to a fierce corporate legal battle at the dawn of the new millennium. That amber liquid sitting quietly on the auto shop shelf represents a truly fascinating century of human ingenuity. It's essentially a masterpiece of chemistry masquerading as a simple, everyday maintenance item.
Hopefully, this explainer has given you a profound new appreciation for the hidden science and incredible history protecting your engine every single time you turn the key. The next time you're standing in the auto aisle looking at those high-detail bottles, you'll know exactly what it took to get that liquid inside. But as we rapidly shift toward electric vehicles, which require entirely different cooling and lubrication science, you have to wonder, what will the next 100 years of chemical engineering look like? Thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Keep learning, and I'll catch you on the next explainer.